We don't talk about what the pigs uncovered in the North Pasture. Well, I, for one, have absolutely no idea what these pigs uncovered in the North Pasture, but I'm already terrified to find out. Pigs are vastly more intelligent than dogs. Ask anyone who has ever worked a commercial farm or raised livestock in the deep country, and they'll tell you the same thing. I have actually heard that from a lot of different people. I even once considered getting myself a pet pig. Yeah, it's just so off topic. And in the beginning of the story, I had a friend who adopted what they thought was a teacup pig, and the pig grew to be like 100 and something pounds, and like this was in college. Back to the story. They problem solve. They hold grudges. Pigs hold grudges. They recognize faces. And worse, they recognize intent. When you walk into a pen with a bucket of slop, they look at you with a hungry sort of reverence. When you walk in with a stun gun, they look at you with cold, understanding terror. I think I'm changing my mind here. I don't want a pet pig anymore. Seem a little too smart for me, if you know what I'm saying. Can't have a pet that's seeing the world better and more clearly than I am. But what bothers me most about pigs isn't their intelligence. It's their eyes. Tucked beneath those heavy, bristly brows, pig eyes are pale, wet, and disturbingly human. My dog Jasper has bright blue human-like eyes. He's like 75% Australian Shepherd, so that's where he gets it from. And I swear sometimes if I get a little too high and he looks at me for a little too long, he just stares into my soul, freaks me out. So yeah, I get where this guy's coming from. My older brother Caleb and I inherited 70 acres of dying land in an unnamed, unincorporated county 3 miles from the nearest blacktop. The property had been bleeding money since the late 90s. Our last desperate venture was a herd of 40 Yorkshire cross pigs, housed primarily in the North Pasture. I understood about 3 of the words in that paragraph. The North Pasture was a miserable stretch of land. It sat at the lowest elevation of the property, backing up against a dense, suffocating wall of black ash trees and briars. Because it sat in a basin, the drainage was non-existent. The mud there was always knee-deep, vicious, and black, smelling faintly of sulfur and fermented apples. I think if I was about to inherit that land, I would probably just say no thank you. Like, you can keep your black tar mud smelling faintly of sulfur and fermented apples. Keep it, or just like immediately sell it if that's possible. All I know is I probably would not be raising those pigs there. Count me out. I'm a city boy. We hated going down there. The air always felt 10 degrees colder, heavy and still, as if the surrounding woods were holding their breath. Yeah, brother, count me out of ever visiting the North Pasture. Nope, my brother can go check on that for me. It was mid-November when Caleb first noticed the feed troughs were full. Frost had already begun to choke the morning grass, locking the mud into sharp, frozen ridges across most of the property. But when Caleb came back from the morning rotation, his boots were coated in thick, steaming black muck. "They ain't touching the corn," he grumbled, tossing his gloves onto the porch freezer. "Troughs are full to the brim. 40 head of hogs, and they haven't eaten a bite of ration in 2 days." Okay, we already know damn well these pigs are just eating something that they shouldn't be eating. And pigs like to eat... Well, dude, all I know is that pigs eat slop, but what is in slop? What do pigs eat? Pigs are omnivores with a digestive system very similar to humans. Their diet generally consists of grains like corn and wheat, soybean meal for protein, and agricultural byproducts. Okay, that's all good and great for most pigs, but I'm pretty sure that these pigs are eating human. I'm just going to go out on a limb and I'm calling it right now, putting my money on the table. They're eating humans. Are they sick? I asked, pouring him a cup of black coffee. I don't care what you say, by the way. Black coffee is shit compared to coffee with cream or coffee with sugar, coffee with literally anything in it other than just black coffee. In my humble opinion, it is 2026, and I believe we can just stop pretending that black coffee is in fact delicious. No one is judging your masculinity anymore, y'all. Put a little splash of whole milk in there. Call it a day. Promise you'll enjoy it 1,000 times better. Caleb shook his head, his expression tight. No, they're getting fat, bloated almost. And the ground down there, it ain't freezing. It's warm, soft like a sponge. They've been rooting in the back corner by the tree line, dug a trench the size of a truck. Yo, pigs can dig like that? What? I mean, I know nothing about pigs. I thought pigs are lazy. Shows you what I know, though. Pigs root. It's what they do. But they don't ignore a guaranteed meal unless they've found something vastly superior, human. That afternoon, I grabbed a heavy iron shovel and walked down to the North Pasture with Caleb to fill in the trench before one of the animals snapped a leg in it. The walk down the sloping hill was quiet, too quiet. Usually, 40 hungry Yorkshires create a cacophony of grunts, squeals. Did I say that word right? Cacophony? I think there's about a 50-50 chance I said it right. Please rate my pronunciation of that word in the comments. Usually, 40 hungry Yorkshires create a cacophony of grunts, squeals, and heavy bodies slamming against the corrugated iron fencing. Today, there was absolute silence. When we reached the perimeter fence, the smell hit me. It wasn't the usual farmhouse stench of ammonia and manure. Damn, that sounds lovely. Oh, God. Like, I live downtown Nashville. It usually just smells like puke and piss and, honestly, human poop here. But, like, the farmhouse stench of ammonia and manure, that sounds even worse. It was a suffocating, metallic odor, like pennies soaking in spoiled milk. I pulled my collar over my nose and gagged. Oh, Caleb just grimaced and unlatched the heavy wooden gate. Hey, yo, Caleb is a freaking trooper. I'm already telling you that much. My God, this guy's a trooper. Shout out, Caleb. I see you, brother. The pigs were clustered in the far corner near the edge of the black ash woods. They were packed together shoulder to shoulder, a tight, writhing sea of pale pink flesh. They weren't fighting. They weren't making a sound. Hey, Caleb barked, slapping the flat of the shovel against a wooden fence post. The crack echoed sharply, but none of the pigs turned. We waded into the muck. Caleb was right. The ground here was inexplicably warm. The heat radiated through the rubber soles of my boots. What would cause the ground to be so warm? Like, what causes that? I didn't pay attention in science class, so I can't give you an answer, but that does seem a bit strange to me. I remember rolling around in the mud a lot when I was a little kid, and I remember the mud being kind of chilly, kind of cold, you know? Obviously, it kind of depends on the temperature of the day, but if I remember correctly, that mud was never really bath water temperature. The mud didn't squelch. It sucked and sighed, clinging to my legs with an almost gelatinous texture. This OP, by the way, is just using big words for the hell of it. So look, I'm doing my best over here. If I mispronounce something, my bad. I'm doing what I can. And I know it's not good enough. As we pushed our way through the herd, the animals finally parted. They didn't scatter. They merely shuffled aside, moving with a sluggish, synchronized lethargy that made the hairs on my arms stand up. Their bellies were distended, stretched, taut, and shiny. Then I saw the trench. It wasn't a trench. It was an ulcer in the earth. The hole was at least 10 feet wide and sloping down into the dark. The dirt that they had excavated wasn't piled up. It was simply gone, as if the ground had collapsed into a hollow subterranean cavity, but it wasn't empty. Bodies protruding from the soft, steaming black mud were thick, pale roots. Only they weren't roots. They were fleshy, translucent, and pulsed with a slow, rhythmic throb. They looked like massive, calcified umbilical cords, slick with a milky sap that oozed from where the pigs had been gnawing on them. So what is he saying? There's some type of like weird root from trees nearby? What? What is going on here? The largest boar, an 800-pound monster. These boars can get to 800 pounds? Oh, I did not know they got so big. Jesus, imagine fighting one of those. The largest boar, an 800-pound monster Caleb had named Barrow, was standing at the bottom of the crater. His snout was buried in the mud, tearing at a thick, fibrous vein of the white tissue. With a sickening schluck, he pulled a long strip of it free. Thick, dark fluid, too dark to be blood, too thick to be water, spilled from the severed membrane. Barrow turned his head to look at us. His jaw was unhinged. The things he had been chewing on had somehow altered him. His gums were swollen and bleeding, and pushed through the shredded pink flesh of his mouth were rows of flat, square teeth, human teeth. Too many of them. What? No. You're telling me your 800-pound pig, Barrow, is turning into a human, like me, like you. That's cap. I don't know. The only thing I do know is that I'm shooting Barrow immediately. Bop. Done. Moving on. Running away. Barrow didn't squeal. He opened his ruined mouth and let out a wet, rattling sigh. It sounded exactly like a man with a crushed windpipe trying to scream. Bro, nah. First of all, shoot Barrow. Second of all, run. Third of all, I don't know. Call the police or a priest, one or the other. What the hell is that? I whispered, my voice trembling. Caleb, what the fuck is under our farm? Yeah, that's what I'd be saying after I shot Barrow and started running. Yeah, 100%. You missed the first 2 steps. Caleb didn't answer. He was staring intensely at the bottom of the hole where Barrow had torn the membrane away. The mud seemed to shift and heave. A low, subsonic vibration hummed through the soles of my boots, traveling up my spine until my teeth rattled in my skull. We need to fill it, Caleb said, his voice flat, hollowed out by disbelief. We just need to bury it. Okay, that's great. You can try to bury it. I would run and then maybe come back with a lot more people and then try to bury it. But the thing is, like, even if you do bury it, your pigs are going to go back over there and uncover it. So, like, you have to, like, approach that. Like, what are you going to do? Like, build, like, a giant fence or something, too? There's a lot of things that need to take place right now. But the first thing that needs to take place is that you need to get the hell out of there and call somebody. Anybody. Call anybody. Just bring out more people. It just can't be the 2 of you. We spent 4 hours shoveling dirt into the hole. They did not take my advice at all. No. See, like, if I saw one of my pigs turning into a human from, like, eating something that was in the ground, I'm not staying there for 4 hours to fill the damn hole. No. Hell, what is the human pig doing at this moment? Staring at you, watching you, stalking you, plotting your murder? I don't know, but I know it's not safe. I would say that you're never quite safe when you have a 800-pound pig that's slowly turning into a man right next to you. Yeah, I would rather fall asleep next to like a hungry wolf than be digging or filling a hole for 4 hours while there's a man bear pig right next to me. We spent 4 hours shoveling dirt into the hole. The pigs watched us. Okay, well, I guess that answers my question as to what the pigs are doing. They didn't try to stop us, but they didn't leave either. They stood in a perfect semicircle, their pale, wet eyes locked onto us, blinking slowly. Their breathing was in perfect unison, a chorus of wet, rattling lungs. Yeah, that sounds like some straight up shit out of a horror movie. No, thank you. By dusk, we had covered the exposed tissue. We locked the gate and walked back to the house in silence. Neither of us ate dinner. Bro, I'd be so hungry after filling up a hole for 4 hours. You kidding me? I don't care how terrified I am. I'm going straight to McDonald's. Nah, scratch that. Burger King. I couldn't get the smell of copper and spoiled milk out of my nostrils. I scrubbed my hands with lye soap until the skin cracked, but the slick, gelatinous feeling of that mud remained. That night, the storm rolled in. I bet the storm uncovers everything. The pigs go out there again. They get their mouths all, full of that, whatever the freaking root was, whatever. And then you got a whole like little army of man bear pigs out there. That's what I bet happens. And Barrow is going to be their leader. You should have killed Barrow when you had the chance. Now he's just going to lead the rest of the pigs down there so they can get their fill. And they're all going to turn into man bear pigs. And then he's going to have an army of man bear pigs. And he's going to be the leader because he's 800 pounds. And there's not going to be a single thing you can do. And they're going to dig that, or they're going to throw you in that hole with those gross roots, whatever, and they're going to cover that hole themselves. You're going to be like a sacrifice to the fleshy roots in your 70-acre farmland basin. I hope you are keeping those shovels close. That night, the storm rolled in. It was a violent, freezing downpour that lashed against the farmhouse windows like handfuls of gravel. Around 2 a.m., the lights flickered and died. Oh, hell no. Hell to the nine. I was already awake, sitting on the edge of my bed, staring into the dark. Look, I am a very straight male, but I would 100% be sleeping in the same room as my bro tonight. Yeah. I'd be like jumping into Caleb's bed like it was my mom and I just had a bad nightmare when I was 5 years old. 100%. No shame in any game. I was listening to the pigs. Over the roar of the rain and the wind, I could hear them. They were freaking singing. It wasn't a melody. It was a guttural, weeping chorus of human-sounding voices, rising and falling in pitch. It was a sound of absolute ecstasy and absolute agony. Sounds like some type of like siren call, bro. And if all the pigs are already singing, I mean, I think they already went down there and got their fill of that root. Shit. My bedroom door flew open. Caleb stood there holding his hunting rifle and a heavy yellow flashlight. He looked pale, his eyes wide and panicked. They broke the fence, he said. The gate is smashed. Bro, I hope y'all got something bigger and better than that hunting rifle. You're gonna need it. Y'all got any like samurai swords there? Let them go, I pleaded. Caleb, please, let them run into the woods. Let them disappear. We can't, he whispered. They aren't leaving. They're digging. No. Once again, hell nah to the nah. I didn't want to go, but the thought of letting Caleb walk down to that pasture alone was worse than the terror in my gut. Yeah, you can't let him go alone. I don't think you guys should go at all, but like if Caleb's going no matter what, then like you have to go with him. You cannot let the homie go by himself, but like Caleb, let's use your brain there for a second and let's think about what's happening right now, okay? You had like your biggest boar, your freaking 800-pound pig, Borrow, eat some of that root and turn into like a half human where he was starting to like speak or something. I don't know, but that's what you made it sound like. Now, on top of that, it sounds like all the pigs are desperately trying to get back there after you filled it up in some like crazy, disgusting, terrifying storm that already knocked out all your power. And now, what do you think's gonna happen? They're all gonna turn into these man-bear pigs. They're doing it for a reason. They're communicating with each other. Something is calling them there. Don't go. Caleb would not survive in a horror movie. I didn't want to go, but the thought of letting Caleb walk down to the pasture alone was worse than the terror in my gut. I grabbed my rain slicker and a flashlight. We stepped out into the freezing deluge. I just tried my best, okay, guys? He doesn't even have a weapon, does he? Oh, he's going out there without a weapon. Terrible rookie move up, but I have to grab a kitchen knife at least, please, brother. By the way, this word is deluge. I don't know why that was so hard for me to say when I was reading it, right? Am I right? Rate my pronunciation once again in the comments. The mud tried to pull our boots off with every step. The rain blinded us, stinging our faces like needles. You can't run and you can't see. What is your plan of action here? As we crested the hill overlooking the north pasture, Caleb swept his flashlight beam over the darkness. The fence was entirely freaking gone, splintered and dragged away. The hole was back, but it wasn't 10 feet wide anymore. The entire back half of the pasture had caved in, revealing a massive, undulating landscape of pale, raw flesh. Oh, what the? I'm sorry. I'm trying to cuss less. What the hell? Hell no. No, you're blinded. You can't run. You have one weapon. Look, at the very best, you catch a cold from being out there in the rain. At the very worst, you get buried alive in some hole that is full of flesh by man-bear pigs that are screaming and screaming some like guttural nonsense that sounds like pain and agony, but also at the same time ecstasy. Get out of there. It stretched for 50 yards, disappearing beneath the tree line. The black ash trees had sunk into the meat, their roots woven into the bloated gray veins of whatever titanic monstrosity lay buried beneath our frickin' property. The air was a suffocating fog of steam and rotting iron. And the pigs, God, the pigs, they weren't just eating it anymore. It was eating them. No. This just took a turn. This just took a huge turn. This is worse than being buried alive by man-bear pigs. Whatever is in the hole was calling the pigs over to free it or something. The pigs have now freed it, and it is now eating all of your pigs. Look, the only reason you're out there is because you wanted your pigs. You wanted the pigs for, I guess, financial purposes. I get it. The pigs are gone. The pigs are done for. They are being eaten by some ancient evil that has been existing under the ground of your property. It is time to get the hell out of there. Drive to your nearest McDonald's, somewhere that still has power, I guess, and call a priest. That is Lou Hawley's advice of the night. And look, that is the best advice that you'll ever hear from anyone in your entire life. Do it. Please, because my anxiety can't take this anymore. Holy. Caleb's flashlight beam caught Borrow. The massive boar was half submerged in a pool of the thick, dark fluid. The pale membrane of the earth had grown up and over his hindquarters, fusing with his flesh. Borrow's skin had turned translucent, his internal organs visible and pulsing in time with the rhythmic heaving of the buried mass. Other pigs were sinking willingly into the meat of the earth. It is disgusting to me that he is calling it the meat of the earth. That is just like, I don't know the word, repulsive, traumatizing, horrible. It just makes me feel a little nauseous, honestly. Their jaws were unhinged, their human teeth chewing frantically at the tissue, even as it swallowed them alive. The wet, hacking, weeping sounds they made were amplified by the hollow cavity of the pit. No, Caleb breathed. No. He raised his rifle. He aimed at Borrow's mutated, fusing head and pulled the trigger. The gunshot cracked over the storm, loud and definitive. The bullet tore through Borrow's skull. Hey, Caleb's a good shot, props to this brother. Maybe he would survive in a horror movie. No, he'd end up dying because he'd like give his life to protect some like absolute useless character. Yeah, for sure. The bullet tore through Barrow's skull, spraying gray matter and that black fluid across the pulsing membrane. The weeping stopped. All 40 pigs stopped chewing. They turned their heads, their pale, human eyes locking onto us. Then the ground groaned. Hell nah. To the nah, nah, nah. You got the ground talking now. The ground is screaming. Get the hell out of there. It wasn't an earthquake. It was a muscle spasm. The entire 50-yard expanse of exposed flesh contracted violently. A deep, wet, tearing sound echoed from the woods as the earth folded inward. Bro, I'm pretty sure you guys just like found the entrance to hell. Why are you still there? Caleb lost his footing. The mud beneath his boots, mud that had already begun to turn pale and warm, gave way. He slid, screaming down the embankment. Caleb! I lunged forward, throwing myself onto my stomach in the freezing mud, reaching out over the lip of the crater. See, this is the part that the OP made up. Yeah, he's trying to make himself sound like a brave warrior right now. Like, bruh, come on now. I know you ain't throwing yourself down there to try to get Caleb. IRL, Caleb already died like 20 minutes ago, and this dude is already at McDonald's, but now he's like writing all this stuff, trying to make himself sound like a hero. I'm on to you. Caleb scrambled, his fingers digging frantically into the earth, but the earth wasn't dirt. It was soft, yielding tissue. His hands slipped, pulling away ribbons of white flesh. God, that's just a gross sight. He tumbled into the pit, landing on the surface of the beating mass. The pigs didn't attack him. They didn't have to. The flesh beneath Caleb split open like a toothless mouth. The thick, milky sap erupted around him, clinging to his jacket, his jeans, his face. He screamed, a raw, tearing sound of pure horror, as the ground began to swallow him. You would have been safe if you had just, gone to McDonald's or Burger King and called the police or the priest like I asked you to. I guess, what was that? Last night? Man, this is not looking good for Caleb. Not at all. Not even a little bit. I screamed his name, shining the flashlight directly onto him. Caleb reached up towards me, his face stretched in agony, but then his expression went slack. His eyes widened, fixing on something beneath the surface of the meat. His jaw dropped open. He didn't scream anymore. He just began to chew. Caleb is now chewing at whatever this stuff is too. What are you doing at this point if you're the OP? Are you just trying to pull Caleb out? Are you just gonna like use Caleb's hunting rifle, maybe pop Caleb? Do you start firing rounds off into the ground? Do you just run? I don't know. I would have been in Burger King 4 hours ago. I didn't try to save him. Well, I guess that answers our question for us. I couldn't. I dropped the flashlight and I ran. I ran so hard my lungs tasted like blood, tearing through the briars, abandoning the farm, the truck, everything. I didn't stop until I reached the county highway, collapsing in the center line as the rain washed the mud from my hands. This is what I'm saying. In every horror movie, there's a Caleb, a strong, brave individual who ends up dying because they tried to do something brave. It sounds to me like Caleb died because he tried to save Barrow, maybe, or he felt bad for Barrow, so he just popped Barrow, and then, like, I don't know, maybe the ground or whatever's underneath the ground got mad at Caleb, and it pulled him in. That's what it sounds like to me. Damn. The authorities went to the property 3 days later when I finally found the courage to speak to them. Has Caleb been missing for 3 days? 3 days? You're gonna get accused of murder! You're gonna get blamed for his disappearance. What are you See? The brave person always dies protecting or defending or trying to do something just and righteous for, who would I say? The useless person. And I'm sorry, Mr. OP, you appear to be the freaking useless person here. 3 days is insane. Holy shit. Like if Caleb wasn't already dead or eaten alive by whatever disgusting, gross monstrosity is under that earth. He's definitely dead now. Either walking around in the depths of hell or buried under 10 feet of disgusting black mud. Good job. The authorities went to the property 3 days later when I finally found the courage to speak to them. I told them Caleb fell into a sinkhole. I didn't tell them about the pigs. I didn't tell them about the teeth. They found nothing. The police report stated that a mudslide had leveled the north pasture, filling the basin with dense, compacted soil. They dug a few feet down, found nothing but black earth, and declared Caleb lost to the elements. Okay, honestly, what I would do, I would get like 10 of my boys over, get shovels, and just start digging there. There has to be something there. A pig, Caleb, I don't know, flesh, something, anything, a clue, anything that could at least get the cops a little bit more involved. You gotta do something for your bro Caleb. That's crazy. You left that man high and dry. No, you left that man low and wet. Awful. Hey, that was a pretty good joke that I just made there, right? High and dry, low and wet. You get it. I thought it was funny. Come on now. But I know the truth. They didn't dig deep enough. Or maybe whatever is down there just pulled its head back beneath the surface to digest. Bro, R.I.P. Caleb. That is a tough freaking way to go. Being eaten alive under a whole bunch of mud along with a whole bunch of man bear pigs. Nah, screw everything about that. There's not a worse way to go. I live in a city now, 3 states away. Yeah, you bet your ass I'd be moving to the city too if I just went through all that. Hell nah. You would never catch me on another farm. You would never catch me out in the country again. Nah, I'm living in a city on like the 28th floor of whatever the most compacted, condensed apartment is in that city. Hell nah. I live on the 5th floor of a concrete building where the ground can't touch me. But sometimes when it rains heavily in the dead of autumn, the wind shifts. I catch a faint whiff of copper and spoiled milk. And when I close my eyes, I can feel the slow, rhythmic vibrations of the floorboards and hear the wet, hacking sound of my brother singing in the dark. Yeah, look, I think that you're probably going to be haunted for the rest of your life by your brother. That sounds like some unresolved business that he's got to attend to. He's got to kind of figure out why his brother just like ran away and left him low and wet to be eaten alive by some demonic entity living underneath y'all's land. That's awful. So when you say we don't talk about what the pigs uncovered in the North Pasture, what you mean by that is that you don't talk about it because you were the only person that survived there, and you didn't talk about it for 3 full days after your brother disappeared there. You may be the world's worst brother. You are certainly the world's worst detective, rescuer, teammate, brother-in-arms, right-hand man, partner. Oh, gosh. And one of these days, you'll probably get married to a girl, and I hope that you protect her a little bit better than you did for your brother. That's crazy. Like, look, I totally understand the running part, but you got to grab your brother and run, too. You guys got to make that run together. Those poor pigs. Poor Caleb. Yeah, if I were to write a comment, I would probably say poor Caleb first, and then poor pigs. Yeah. Caleb comes first here, y'all. All right, well, on that note, have a lovely night. Peace.